What's up, Hobby Maniacs? Baer here today with this week's new releases from Games Workshop. Now, these, you're probably like, hey, I've seen these before. Well, yep, but they got formations inside of them, so we're going to take a closer look. Spiky Bits. Make sure you stay in the trenches by becoming a supporter over on Patreon and also scoring yourself some free miniature swag in the process. Subscribe to this YouTube channel. Check out our site, spikybits.com, for all the hot hobby tutorials, news, rumors on all your favorite hobby topics. And head on over to thelongwar.net. That's the home of the battle reports for exclusive content, early access videos, and more. Become a veteran of the Long War today. Alright, so like I was saying, brand new start collecting boxes from Games Workshop. Great value at $85. I think both of these have well over $100 in retail value in them. So another great set to pick up for both veteran players and new players alike, of course. You know, I'm sure some veteran players will be like, yeah, I don't really need a fire prism. You know, it's not as competitive, but, you know, you can still get the jet bikes and the Farseer dude on jet bike. Still good value right there. Just those right there is almost the cost of the box set. And then you get a fire prism for free. So sometimes it isn't always about what's competitive. Sometimes it's just about picking stuff up, having extra things to sell or paint, you know, and kind of just keep adding to your collection. So I can see the appeal to both of these. Of course, the Dark Eldar one has the clam pack guy in it, the Archeon, and well, you know what I mean. And the warriors here, the Reaver jet bikes, and a raider. So another good value as well to pick out for Dark Eldar. Now, Dark Eldar, you know, universally, they're kind of like the Misfits of the universe, you know, redhead stepchild. They have arguably worse rules as Chaos, you know, and players are always like, yeah, I want better rules. But, you know, if they ever change toughness or armor values to toughness, these guys are going to be on the top of the P. Everybody's going to be coming out and playing Dark Eldar because they have so much poison. But you know, there's ways to mitigate that depending on if they ever did change the rules. We talked a lot about that on the Long War. I think the armor value discussion, you can check it out over on iTunes. I'm sure it's up there, or on Ellipsin as well. So lots of cool stuff in here. Very good values, but the bonus to these is that it comes with a formation in each. A brand new formation that gives a little bit of a bonus to the units in the box. So, you know, they can kind of be matched up against each other if you play them, or any of the start collecting boxes for that regard. But again, you know, there are folks that are like, hey, you know, it's not as good as it could be, but you know what? It's better than nothing. You know, it's always cool to get a little bit of cool rules and some new models at a discount, I feel like. You know, whether or not it's competitive or, you know, it's useful in game. So you got the typical box set here. They show you all the stuff that comes in. It gives you a little bit of a recipe, which if you saw my painting bases tutorial video, not necessarily always the exact recipe that they use to paint the models, because we followed it verbatim, and let's just say it didn't turn out exactly the same, unfortunately. So here's the models, and I believe we've unboxed and reviewed all of these except for maybe the little Archeon guy here. He's kind of cool looking. I mean, he's got a couple of different things here. You know, you can check him out. It could change his head out. You know, he's got the little cape thing. So I can see where some Dark Eldar players would love this guy and be able to convert him up. And then you've got the 3 Reaver jet bike sprues, which again are all identical. So those are super easy. No big deal there. We've seen that before. The Raiders, you know, amazing kit. All this stuff was designed by Jess Goodwin. And, you know, he really advocated for these guys to come out way back in 2011. And it was just, you know, an amazing time all the stuff came out. And there was, you know, there was a time they were super good in the competitive scene. They've fallen out a little bit since, you know, and some Dark Eldar players will lament about it. And, you know, Eldar players were just kind of using them as an ally, so to speak. And they kind of got away from that because the whole, you know, you can't mix the non-factions, not the same faction in the same transport now. So a lot of people were deep striking in Raiders with a webway portal, you know, and not scattering, and then you would come in with some Wraith Guard in it, you know, because they're open top, then the Wraith Guard could fire out with their D-size combo, but you know, G-Dub shut that down with the new FAQ. So they're kind of struggling for their place in the dog heap in the Grim Dark, you know, as far as competitive scene goes. But non-competitive, these are great models to paint. I mean, amazing looking stuff, amazing forward thinking, you know, whole designs and things. I mean, look, they got it's freaking Jabba sail barge. Like, come on. Like, how cool is that? Like, paint this stuff up, have fun, you know what I mean? And then in the box, you've got all the instructions and everything you need, all the basing, the flying stands, here he is right here, the Archeon, and decal sheets. And then here is the brand spanking new formation, which we've already seen all over the internet earlier in the week. But basically, if you take this formation here, the Archeon basically makes all the stuff from the same formation from the Purge coterie to have the preferred enemy against the unit you picked until the start of your next turn. So you get to pick a unit, you get preferred enemy to guys in here. Might be kind of cool, you know, if you got some Dark Lances and stuff, these would definitely pair well against the other Eldar box start collecting box set that came out the same week, basically. So I could see them being able to pair up good against each other, but, you know, you throw this on the table against a 2,000 point army, you might need something a little else, you know, kind of in here, and I think a lot of people are feeling that. And then here's the Eldar box set, like I said, with the Fire Prism. Again, they show you all the great paint schemes. I mean, red's really hard to mess up. It's very easy to do. When you start mixing in yellows and things, it gets a little bit more complicated, but here's their little paint scheme here, and here's the black. Here's some blues for the spear here. All this stuff Kenny's actually covered over on Next Level Painting. So if you're in the market, you know, to paint up some red and you want a dope red paint scheme, you know, just Google Next Level Painting, painting reds. Even the power weapons, he just did a tutorial on that. Really great stuff over there on Next Level Painting. Kenny is a wizard when it comes to the airbrush. And in this week's White Dwarf too, they had a Golden Demon winning army in there, and it was painted up with airbrush. And it just goes to show, like, as long as you put the extra hours in there for the time you save blending with the airbrush, I feel like that's a win-win, and it's really cool to see Games Workshop in the studio judges really starting to recognize that. So here's the extra Fire Prism sprue that they came out with that pairs up with the Wave Serpent chassis sprues right here. Very easy stuff, all sorts of flying stands in here, as you can imagine, because, well, we got jet bikes. So there's that. We've seen that pretty much verbatim for over many of years. I mean, this is a kit that came out in the 90s, the Falcon Grav tank, which of course doesn't have all the sprues here. There's a sprue missing. You can tell it's an older design because it's got the gaps in it. Now let's see, this is 1997 copyright here, and then the Wave Serpent I think came out in the late 2000s, probably about 10 years later. What do we got here? 2010, almost nailed it. All right, so there you go. That's your little background history lesson for today. So there's those. And then we've got the jet bikes here, which again are autonomous and all the same, no matter which one you snip off here, which saves G-Dub some money. Just cut and paste, cut and paste, cut and paste. Good to go. And then of course you've got your flying stands with a little new ball joint here, which is pretty dope. So you can lock it up in there. Where is it? I actually haven't put one of these new jet bikes together because I don't. Oh, it sandwiches together, and then you can fit the ball joint right in there. So that's good to know. And then here's the Fire Prism. I did put some of these together when they came out. I had 3 of these. I've since sold my Eldar, unfortunately, because, well, reasons. Let's just leave it at that. So I like this new Fire Prism sprue. It gives you the extra hatches, but also it gives you this clear piece here, which you could, you know, do all sorts of cool airbrushing on before you installed it. But you have to be careful because the whole stem actually locks together here, so you'd have to leave this off. It could be a whole thing, it could be a little extra work, but either way, it'll look dope if you spend the extra time on it. And then right here is the Farseer Jet Bike combo kind of pack sprue, which you can tell he is customizable. You know, he's basically broken off at the waist, broken off at the helmet, broken off at the arms, so you can arm him a whole bunch of different ways, which I think is pretty dope. Very cool kit here, and we've waited a very long time. These came out recently last year, but I think they were copyrighted a long time before that because, where is it? Oh, they don't have it on the, oh, I guess it's like a whole sprue in and of itself. Yep, it sure is. Doesn't have a copy. 2013. Well, we know we saw that before 2013, so that's interesting to see right there as well. And then we get into the formation, which, as I've alluded to, has something to do with the Fire Prism. Weaver of Rooms, by focusing his will upon the enemy threat, the Farseer guides destructive beam of his accompanying Fire Prism with unerring accuracy. The Fire Prism's weapons all have the Twin Link special rule when targeting an enemy unit that the Rune Weaver host Farseer has a direct line of sight to. Not a bad little formation. They would pair up well against shooting the Eldar stuff in here, of course. You know, you get one shot at things in here, but they get a bunch of little shots back at you with, you know, some Dark Lances and we all know how that goes. Dark Lances are pretty baller when it comes to popping armor. So that's pretty much it for this week's new Start Collecting box set. Like I said, 2 great offerings I feel like here, you know, as far as saving money and also just something cool that hadn't been done before. Now remember, we're going to see a lot of new hopefully see a lot of new players in game stores here as we start seeing the whole like Battle for Vedra stuff, hopefully at bigger box stores and chain stores throughout the US. Well, I guess it's North America. So remember, you know, if you see people coming in picking up these Start Collecting box sets, you know, open a dialogue with them, talk to them about the game, talk to them about what they're looking at, you know, tell them how good of a deal these are, you know, turn them on to all the cool stuff that makes this hobby great, so we can continue to grow the hobby, you know, sometimes in places that they might not get that personalized attention. It might not be a G-Dub store. It might be an independent retailer where the guy's a little busy behind the counter selling some magic cards or selling some sodas or doing his orders, you know. We all got to help out. We all have a vested interest in this hobby, and we all rise with the tide, which is a really great thing. And who doesn't want to see more hobbyists, right? So there it is, the 2 great Start Collecting box sets, and we'll see a Blood Angels one next week as well.
Deleted scenes, bonus content, and all the interviews and post-game wrap-up videos can be located in the Hall of Veterans on thelongwar.net. Visit thelongwar.net today and try a week completely free with no strings attached. That's not all. Thelongwar.net is also your hobby resource for exclusive early access with an ad-free experience to all your favorite videos. Members of the Hall of Veterans gain early exclusive access to multiple hobby videos.